To me, one of the most telling races that we'll be watching on Election Day is Pennsylvania 8th, which encompasses Scranton, Hazleton, and Northeast Pennsylvania. And it pits Matt Cartwright, who's kind of a populist, kind of an under-the-radar populist Democrat who was first elected in 2012, against Jim Bognett. It's a rematch. He beat Bognett 2 years ago, but Bognett was the first House candidate across the country to get Trump's endorsement. He served in the Trump administration as an official in the Ex-Im Bank for something like 46 days. He was
imported and then exported.
Imported and exported. He was just short enough so that he kept delaying his financial disclosure.
Oh, nice.
And then he left and never filed it, which came up in a debate last week.
You actually have to disclose your finances at Ex-Im?
Yes, there you go. And so last week there was a debate. This week we have an exclusive ad from the Cartwright campaign. This just began airing around Northeast Pennsylvania. Let's roll this because I think it tells you a lot about the race.
This is a great place to raise a family, but in order to do that, we need good jobs that can lead to careers. You know who understands this? Matt Cartwright. That's why he's helping to bring a new plant, creating thousands of jobs and cheaper gas prices. He's working to fix our supply chain and bring jobs back from China. He's proven that he's not afraid to take on big corporations. Matt is not a politician. He's a fighter, and he's fighting for people like me.
I'm Matt Cartwright, and I approve this ad.
Okay, and for me, that's the kind of ad I think populist Democrats would love to see all over the country.
Yeah.
You're going to go after the corporations. You're a fighter. You're going to go after the big price gouging rich people. You're going to go after China. You're going to bring jobs back to this country. And he's actually citing a very specific job plant that he's going to bring back. This alternative gas plant that he's been a big booster of for a very long time. He's going with in the debate. He went with the old school. Like, look, I'm bringing money back. Mm-hmm. Like I bring money back to the district. I'm here for regular people here. So what did you make of that ad? If Democrats across the country were running ads like that, how would you feel about Republicans' chances?
It reminded me of a conversation we were having earlier, and I mentioned the Katie Porter viral video sort of talking about corporate profit margins and inflation and how corporations have used, by their own admission, I mean, there's polls of executives of this and how they have raised prices on goods, not because of inflation, but sort of in the inflationary environment.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was like, well, why aren't Democrats? I mean, we all know political ads are mostly lies, at best exaggerations. Why aren't Democrats even exaggerating to get a message that sounds like the Cartwright message? And frankly, it's because they cannot say things like that they are working on supply chains. They cannot say things like they're bringing jobs back from China, because if they even try to make those claims, it will blow up so hard in their faces because it's that much of a lie. They really, truly are so now in bed with the Chamber of Commerce and with corporate interests. And both parties have always been in bed with corporate interests. We know that that's the case. But the Democratic Party even, it is so lacking the ability to even exaggerate about their efforts in some of these spaces that they can't run on this message, even though really it's where they should be.
And right. And he was, because he's been kind of a progressive populist in office for 10 years now, he can, like you said, he can actually make that claim sort of with some credibility.
Tim Ryan has that same thing, right? So and that's why I always thought Tim Ryan and J.D. Vance, even though everyone was like, oh, Ohio, it's going to be pretty easy for Vance. Tim Ryan is probably one of the most interesting candidates that Democrats can run on a level like that, because he sort of has these populist bona fides, and that he has been in this space for a long time. And whether it's political calculus or sincere, he knows he knew what direction the wind was blowing in, and he can talk like that. And it's, again, helpful, but that is a dying breed of Democrat.
Right. And Cartwright is a sponsor of Medicare for All, for instance. For a swing district Democrat to be on Medicare for All is unusual. He was hit by it by Bognett in a debate last week. He responded by saying, yeah, I've never shied away from the fact that I think aspirationally that's where we need to go. Are we ready now? Is it completely sketched out? No. And until then, I want to see people's drug prices lowered. I want to see subsidies expanded. And so then he can get more purchase for his argument that he wants to make healthcare cheaper and more accessible and more affordable for everybody, because he's like, look, in the end, I'm for Medicare for all. Now, to be fair and balanced, We have a BoGnet ad to play as well. He has run 2 ads so far in this campaign that feature him in 1993 kicking a field goal in high school. Here's one of them.
Jason was so fast. Jamie was tough and had great hands.
Good snap, here's the
I
kick.
kicked the game-winning field goal, a night we'd never forget. Memories of Northeast Pennsylvania end too often after high school. People leave and don't return. Biden only made things worse. Inflation, groceries, gas. Today, everything costs more. I believe we can have a better future, and it starts with changing Washington. I'm Jim BoGnet, and I approve this message.
Now, to pick up his bio, so he did go to Penn State. After Penn State, he goes to New York, worked for a major investment bank. Then he worked for Arnold Schwarzenegger. Then he worked for Mitt Romney, worked for John McCain. Hilarious. And then he worked for the Glover Park Group. Which represented represented Saudi Arabia, which came up in the debate as well as a story that I reported on. Represented Saudi Arabia when they were lobbying against the 9/11 families. Yeah. He said he had. His answer, I didn't know. Mm-hmm. He was the senior vice president for communications for Glover Park Group while they were doing this. And Cartwright pointed out in the debate, he's like, they list on their FARA filings that communications is one of the things they're doing for you. You were the senior communications person. They're publicly filing this, telling the whole world that this is what Glover Park Group was doing, but you didn't know that they were doing it?
Right.
How bad are you?
They told the Justice Department that.
Yeah. And then he played this interesting Trump card where he's like, I think, he was saying nice things about Trump, Cartwright was. Some not nice things, but then some also nice things. He's like, I think that you left Exim so quickly because you didn't want to file your financial disclosure. You didn't want to tell Trump that you were representing the Saudis and going after 9/11 families. I don't think that's true because Trump doesn't care. Trump's so in bed with the Saudis. He'd be like, okay, good for you. But on this ad, I think it's a mistake for anybody to remind the public that you were the kicker. But what do you think?
So that video, that kick is from 1993 in the video?
Yeah. I mean,
I was born in 1993.
Right, and he's
bragging about kicking a 25-yard field goal in 1993.
I mean, and then he follows it with, memories of Northeast Pennsylvania, too often and after high school. It's like, yeah, for you left after high school and didn't come back until you saw an opportunity to leave your Washington, corporate executive career to run for office as a good old boy from Northeast Pennsylvania. And so playing that grainy footage is a way to try to say, hey, like, I'm actually from here. I used to be from here, but I left. Yeah, but you're right. There's nothing else in the ad. Now, since then, his other ads have hammered on the wall, fentanyl, the whole.
Well, I was going to say,
gamut.
I'm sure running as a Republican in that district, in a sort of Trump-aligned Republican.
Trump won that district by a lot.
Right. There's a lot of ammunition for legitimate reasons in a district like that. And so I don't think, as long as you're aligned with the Republican Party and Donald Trump on a lot of those key issues, whether it's China, which, by the way, or the border, which people in the Rust Belt see as connected directly to fentanyl and to all of those deaths ravaging their communities. As long as you're aligned with Trump on that, you have plenty of ammunition. You can run on more than kicking the field goal, which that particular ad I thought was light on substance, not just by the standards of political ads, but just by the standards of like what's really going to make this work. You can be the kicker, but are you the kicker that's going to secure the border? So I thought it was a little light on substance, even from great being on the curve of politics, but still, there's plenty to run on if you're a Trump-aligned Republican in a district. And that's what Cartwright obviously knows that, because to your point, there were some interesting exchanges about abortion and Drag Queen Story Hour in this debate that show, where those vulnerabilities for the left are. Yeah,
and BoGnet kept hitting him, calling it the kind of Biden-Cartwright agenda or the Cartwright-Biden agenda, which is fascinating considering that Biden is from Scranton. Like that's his whole thing. He's the guy from Scranton. Yet BoGnet clearly thinks that tying Cartwright to Biden is the best way to beat him, whereas Cartwright was, was a kind of distinguishing himself from Biden throughout the entire thing. I vote for him when I agree with him, when I don't. He talked about how he's like, I don't hate Trump. He's like, in fact, he said he was talking to Trump about how it was too difficult to donate a kidney and that there should be reforms around this. And Trump's like, I agree with you. And so Cartwright wrote a bill. The bill didn't become law, but Trump then did his bill basically as an executive order and invited Cartwright to sign it. He's like, so look, I don't hate Trump. I think he's terrible on, he wasn't willing to he was willing to criticize him. But then, yes, you had these really interesting moments where Bognet would go back to culture war stuff, and he would be brought up Drag Queen Story Hour a couple times, and Cartwright would say, look, this is a Washington lobbying executive. He kept calling him a lobbying executive because I guess he cares about the fact checkers, because he's never officially registered to lobby.
To lobby, right? But because he's doing communications, so he's not lobbying. He's just getting Saudi-backed op-eds in different papers. Yeah. Right.
So he would say, look, here he is. He's bringing up this culture war stuff just to distract you from the fact that his biggest donors, and he mentioned this guy, some Chinese semiconductor multimillionaire had given him $160,000 to a super PAC, is he wants to distract you from the economic pain that his kind of movement actually wants to drive you into on behalf of millionaires and billionaires.
Except the problem is a lot of establishment Democrats like to use culture war issues as a distraction from the pain that they are inflicting on people with their policies.
And so Bognet would link him to Pelosi constantly.
Right.
And Cartwright kept saying, I'm not Nancy Pelosi.
Right. Right.
But so if this is a straight up D versus R election in Pennsylvania's 8th, Bognet wins by 10, 15 points.
Right.
It shouldn't even be close. So Cartwright's ability to win is going to be dependent on his ability to say to Pennsylvania voters, I'm my own person. And what he said was, he's like, look, I'm willing to work with Republicans. You hear this guy. There's absolutely no way he's ever going to work with Democrats on anything. And so we'll see if that resonates or not. It's going to be a very tough race.
Very tough race, uphill climb in a Trump district, or a district that he won pretty handily for any Democrat in this environment. So I'd probably put my money on Bognet, but he's lost before.
Yeah, if you're gambling, he's probably favored in this environment, but it's all going to come down to turnout, as they say.
That's right, and it's such an interesting race, and I'm glad that you pointed out, because I hadn't been following it very closely, just to see how smarter Democrats are actually able to run their races. It's always fun to watch.
And he's like the vice chair of the Democratic Caucus for Communications, but nobody talks like him. So I don't know. I don't know. What's that? So he's failing in that job.
Yeah, well, it's a pretty tough job right now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, interesting race, and definitely one we'll continue watching.
Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing, and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.